I'm a guy that's 24. Each day I build some more. I like episode 7 and episode 8. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back again with another video, and as you can tell by the title, I am finally hosting a build contest. This is something that I've wanted to do for quite some time, and I finally got all the kinks worked out, and we're going to go ahead and get this thing underway. The contest will task builders with designing a Coruscant speeder in LEGO. I actually came up with this idea after showing a bunch of different Coruscant speeders on the LEGO Star Wars Mod Showcase and realizing how much I just love the design and aesthetic of them, and I thought, why not make this a contest, because I would really love to see more people build these. So that's really the reason I've kind of started this contest. It's something that I'm personally very excited about, and I really cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. Submissions for this contest will begin right now. You can submit a design that you come up with in the next 10 minutes if you decide to. What I will say is designs are only applicable if they have been not on social media or not built since the beginning of this video. Like, obviously, I can't tell you whether or not you had something designed if I haven't seen it on social media or anything, but the idea of this is to basically encourage you to make new speeder designs. I don't want designs that have been out there in the public or that have been designed before this contest started to be eligible to be submitted to this contest. Submissions are going to be due by March 13th. That's a Friday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you have your time zones correct. That's U.S. Central Standard Time. And that basically gives you a month to go ahead and get that design prepared, built, and submitted. I will say that renders or LED submissions are okay, but just know that based on how the presentation is, like actual physical built models will probably be scored a little bit higher than LED builds. If you have a decent render and it's honestly difficult to tell whether or not it's real, of course, like that should totally be fine. If you decide to do a digital build, I would definitely suggest you try to get a decent looking render of it if you want to be very competitive with the best of the actual physical built models. The dimensions of your build must not exceed 40 studs by 20 studs length and width and 16 studs height. This is actually a super important rule. I want to stress that, like, just keep your builds within these realms. If we see photos of your build and we're at least somewhat skeptical about the size of it, we will ask you to present photos of your build next to basically studs to confirm that it is within those dimensions. If you can't provide those photos, then your build will not be accepted as a valid entry. Your submission must only include official LEGO parts that have not been modified in any way. I think this goes without saying. This allows an equal playing field across the board. No one's gonna have any custom parts that anyone else can't get a hold of. One thing I will say is cutting flex tubing is fine, since technically that's a legal technique. It's something that LEGO, I think, actually wanted you to do in a few early sets. But other than that, stick with strictly LEGO pieces. Custom minifigs are fine. The minifigs that you include in this aren't really going to be a huge addition to the build. We're primarily focusing on the build. But if you want to make it, I don't know, just a more interesting looking photo for when you present it to us, you can go ahead and throw some figs in there. And if they're customs, that's okay as well. But the bricks on the actual speeder build must be official LEGO pieces. The last important rule is that the build should be reasonably within minifig scale. Like, I really don't want to see any like micro scale speeders submitted into this. That's not really the spirit of this contest. If you do, I guess it will be judged, but you're not gonna make it very far in the judging process if you do. This isn't something we're going to be super strict about in terms of making sure that the scaling of your speeder is perfect, but just keep it within the realm of possibility for minifig scale. Like, a figure should be able to reasonably pilot the build that you make. There's 3 basic criteria that we're going to be using to judge these builds. The first are the actual build techniques and parts usage. This is a build contest, so we want to make sure that the best build is the one that wins, so that's probably going to be the most important criteria that we use. The second criterion is the design, like how cool of a speeder does it look as a whole. Maybe you don't have the best building techniques to kind of accomplish the angles, but as a whole, it's a really cool looking speeder. You can regain some points in this category per se. That's really the difference between this one and the first category. And the third category is somewhat of a subjective one, but I put this in here because I want to make sure that these are looking like Coruscant speeders. So the third criterion is basically how well does your speeder adhere to the Coruscant speeder aesthetic. I will provide you with many pictures of Coruscant speeders. You can of course reference the films. We see tons of them in the films, so there's a lots of reference material to pull from, but this is basically to make sure that people are submitting things that look like they belong on Coruscant. You can have an incredible looking speeder design, but if it doesn't necessarily fit in with Coruscant speeders, then you'll be scored pretty low here. I don't want people to really think too hard about this category. Like, I don't want you to design something and be like, oh, does it look Coruscant enough for the contest? I'm not sure. Just use your best judgment, and if you need to, like I said, refer to the many amounts of reference material that will be available for this, do that. But just make sure it looks like it belongs on Coruscant. I don't think this is something that should give people too much trouble. That being said, the prizes. This is probably what you all want to hear, and what I've decided is to basically just give Lego gift cards for prizes. Like, I realized if I want to do physical gifts, I'm going to have to ship them, and if people end up being overseas, then that's going to significantly increase the cost on me. So why not just do something that I can give to everyone and not have to like give people who are overseas a lesser prize than someone who lived in the US and wouldn't cost me nearly as much to ship to it. So first place is going to get a $50 Lego Shop at Home gift card. Second place is going to get a $20 Lego Shop at Home gift card, and third place will get a $10 Lego Shop at Home gift card. These will be electronically delivered to you. If you're not in an area that has Lego Shop at Home, that doesn't really apply to you, then we can work something out if you end up being the first or third place winner in this. I don't want people to feel discouraged if they're in a country that doesn't have Lego Shop at Home. We will make this work, but those are, I think, some pretty cool prizes. There's some cool Lego sets on shelves right now. I know a lot of you are excited about the summer Clone Wars sets that we're probably going to be getting, so you can save it until then. And I just wanted to do something that, wasn't just some like poly bags that I had in my collection, but something that allows you to actually use the money towards a Lego set or pick a brick or whatever the heck you would like on the Lego website. There are going to be 4 judges for this contest. It's going to be myself, the Brick Wiz, David Hall, and Garrett Bricks, or Gertie, whatever the heck he calls himself nowadays. And I think it's important to disclose this to make sure that you guys don't reach out to us for building advice for this contest. And the only reason I say that is to keep it fair. Like, I know with other building contests, I've had people reach out to me and show me their builds and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And if it's someone else's build contest, it doesn't really matter. I'll tell you my opinion. But for the purposes of this contest, I don't want for people to, I guess, reach out to any of us and ask for build advice, because that gives you kind of an unfair advantage. Because if you're building something and we tell you oh, I would like to see this, then obviously we're probably going to score you high for doing the thing that we want you to do. I want to keep this contest as fair as possible. You can send us photos. We may or may not respond, but don't expect any in-depth suggestions. That's just not really fair to people who don't necessarily reach out to us. Submissions are going to be done completely through Instagram, so in order to make a submission, make an Instagram post using the hashtag RBJSpeederContest. Make sure you spell that correctly, obviously. The one thing I will say about this is please only make one post with that hashtag per Instagram account. I can't stop you from making a bunch of Instagram accounts. Ideally, one submission per user, but if you have a bunch of accounts, I won't be able to tell the difference. But definitely one submission per Instagram account. The point of this is to at least somehow enforce only one person has one submission. The point of this is to enforce that people are only making one speeder submission. And also, we don't want the hashtag clutter with progress pictures or anything like that. Anything under that hashtag is going to be a valid entry into the contest. So if you have multiple posts under the same account with that hashtag in it, none of your submissions are going to be counted. I'm sorry it has to be that way, but we want to make sure that when we're judging, we can access everyone's entries without having to go through a bunch of things that aren't necessarily applicable entries. So make sure you guys read through the rules. I'm going to include them in the description below. I know a lot of people don't read the description, but please read through them. There are a few other small things I didn't include in this video that will be important to your submission, so please go ahead and do that. I'd hate to have to turn people away because of technicalities, but those rules are in place to ensure that everything is fair and to make it a little bit easier on us as judges. I hope I did a pretty good job at explaining the rules of this thing. This is the first build contest I've done, so I'm really excited to see how this goes. If you guys have any further questions, of course, comment in this video. I'll get back to them. I really cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. I love Coruscant speeders, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. And I hope that the prizes that I administer for this are at least somewhat inspirational to make people who maybe wouldn't have built before at least give it a shot. I would love to see what you guys come up with. So with that being said, good luck to all of you. If you guys like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.